May, Stephen Rainey, the fourth roommate and leaseholder of the property, kept insinuating that, oh, we need to bring in another female because we just picked up Chandler. And I'm like, nope, I got to get used to this other person here. And before, Steve Rainey is a long distance truck driver, so I was working from home. It was perfect for peace and quiet working from home during the day, and with him gone all week, just here on the weekends. And Chandler was in and out with lots of traffic, but it made the whole house feel more like a Motel 6 suddenly with just one weekend moving in. Anyway, Steve Rainey asked me to help him interview this one girl that he lied and said that he found off of his Craigslist ad. And we interviewed her, and I asked the traditional questions to try to get a feel for character. She openly admitted that she used drugs recreationally. That was a red flag for me.
I'm just going to jump in here. We're here about violence or threats of violence or other similar acts of family violence.
Okay.
Bad roommates don't get protective orders. People who don't follow rules don't get protective orders. We are here for things that are, in their simplest term, tantamount to crimes against you as a person, though there are some other things that qualify. So let's talk about, well, we need to get into not your misgivings about this person being allowed into the house, though I do have a couple of other questions about that. How many people can live at this residence?
Really four. It's a 4-bedroom, 3 full bath.
Okay. And so at one point it was the 3 of you and Mr. Rainey were the 4?
It was me and Mr. Rainey, and then Chandler came on board the 20th of May, and then Dexter on the 1st of June.
Okay, so it was the 4 on the 1st of June, for example, it was all 4 of you in the 4 bedrooms.
Yes, sir.
Got it. Okay. And so, so tell me about the confrontation that came from that.
Okay. Miss Dexter was supposed to move in on the 30th. She could not. She was a no-show, no-call, and I took off from work for that. The 1st, she came late in the day and dropped in her furniture and clothing, and then just disappeared. The 2nd, Friday the 2nd, I had to go to work on my new supervisory job. And I explained to Mr. Rainey that I hadn't heard from our new tenant. So if she calls him, let her know that I'll meet her after 6 p.m. I did just that. I came in the house on Friday the 2nd, about 6:30-ish, and she was in the kitchen cooking. And she greeted me very abrasively. She, where's that key? Where's that key you said you had for me yesterday? And I'm like, welcome, And I'm like, I tried to give you the key yesterday and you were upset and said, no, I'll get a key from Steve, meaning Steve Rainey, right? And which I did. And I said, I was carrying my work laptop bag and some other items and very exhausted after being on my feet all day. I said, give me 2 minutes. I'm going to run up to my room. I'm sure it's up there somewhere. And my intentions were to come right back down. And she just started ranting. And that's my exhibit 1 is a voice recording. She started ranting for about 7 minutes straight about, can I use profanity? That old B, I'm gonna beat her A if she don't hurry up and give me the key. I'm nice, but I ain't that nice. I'm a gangster. And she has the sweetest little childlike animated voice. At first I thought, oh, she's just letting out some steam to a family member, and I know moving is stressful. But then it got worse. And then she got on the phone with Rainey saying she was gonna put her hands on me. And I just thought, I'm not going back down there. I don't know this person, from Adam, she might really hurt. So I stayed in my room.
Let me jump in real quick because I have a quick question. I need to clarify. What is your relationship to this property?
I am a tenant.
Okay, how long have you been living there?
This time I've been living here since March. But
okay. Why are you the one in charge of distributing a key to a new tenant?
Again, that's Steve Rainey. And again, there's more history to this, sir, that I really need to tell the story. I met Steve Rainey in January of 2021. At that time, his ankle was literally shattered from some type of accident. He then had an ad online, reduced rent, for cooking and cleaning and assisting me with.
Man, I need you to stop right now, and I need you to tell me how any of this is going to help me decide if Mr. Chandler or Miss Dexter committed an act of violence against you, because I cannot for the life of me even figure out a way to draw a path with my pen from where you are to where we need to be.
I just wanted to paint history that Steve Rainey and I, the leaseholder of the property, have known each other since January of 2021. I stayed with him about 7-8 months during that time. And then I came back in March of this year because he was looking for a roommate. He was actually reaching out to me. Hey, where are you? Come back. I miss you cooking, blah, blah, blah. You love it here. And so I took him up on it. Once again, reduced rent. I had 2 bedrooms, just like before, and a private bath because I'm an old person afraid of COVID. And then he decided he was going to interview Miss Dexter. Well, turns out Miss Dexter and Mr. Chandler had been friends or associates, and they brought her in as I can't even sugarcoat it, sex in exchange for rent to service both of them. She's so when she approached me on the 2nd, it made me realize that she has been appointed now the head of the household while Steve Rainey is away because they had this secret arrangement. So
what are you basing this
on? I'm basing this on the fact that I actually overheard some of the conversations and some of the sexual acts within the first couple of weeks between Miss Dexter and at least Rainey. And Rainey told me that, yeah, she was a security guard at Mr. Chandler's employer, and he works for one of the DeKalb County agencies. I don't have a clue which one, but she was at one point a part-time security guard, and that's how they knew each other. So he referred her.
Okay, so
the evening when
she's moving in.
Mm-hmm. So the 2nd of June, was her first official day in the house. She ranted for 7 minutes talking about what she was going to do to my old BA. And I stayed in my room because I then became very afraid. And then I heard her on the phone with Steve Rainey, and he was trying to calm her down. And there's also a text message that I sent over in one of the pieces of evidence of Rainey had texted me saying, please answer the phone. I'm trying to stop that girl from beating your ass. And I had blocked him a couple of days before because he was bothering me too much about, don't worry about going to work, stay there and give that girl that key. It was very, very important for her to have, more important for her to have that key, a stranger, than for me to go out and earn money to pay my rent and have groceries. All right, so I stayed in my room, about 2 hours passed, and I thought, probably won't be able to sleep tonight because another stranger in the house, but I stayed in my room. I went to the restroom, Your Honor, and I was literally, too much information, but I was literally sitting on the toilet. The bathroom that Steve Rainey forced us to share is a Jack and Jill bath, so it's a door to her bedroom and a door to mine. She just burst in the door forcefully with this large glass container of an alcoholic beverage. I'm guessing it was a margarita or daiquiri, something like that. It was red. And she threw it at me, hit me upside the head. It saturated my wig. And
now, when you say a container, you mean in like
a glass.
It was okay. Got it. Carry on.
And that covered the white linen shirt that I was wearing that day. And I had it for evidence, but we'll get to that later. So I thought, wow. And then she told me, she said, I'm going to beat your old ass every day until you leave. That's exactly what she told me. And I'm like, oh my God, did this really just happen? I called the police. And then the next morning, Steve Rainey arrived home like he always does. He leaves on Monday morning typically, and he comes back Saturday morning. And he came in, and I snuck down to breakfast before she got up to get just a coffee and toast. And he came into the kitchen and said, and that's exhibit number 2. It's about I'm trying to go on memory. It's about a 30-minute conversation, but he starts off, Your Honor, saying, so what are you going to do? And I'm like, what are you talking about? He said, you going to move, you going to stay, you going to go, what you going to do? And I'm like, I wasn't planning on going anywhere, but if you want me to go, since, figure to myself, since Miss Dexter said, I'm going to beat your ass until you go, then I'll start looking for a place. He says, well, how long are you going to need? I'm like, well, at least 30 days. I mean, that's standard, and it takes a while to find a safe, clean place. And he starts rant. He says that he goes on and on, again, it's a long conversation. He starts accusing me of not paying rent, which is a lie. He demands rent in cash most of the time because he doesn't want to report it to the IRS as earnings. And then he says, I proposed 30 days. He said, no, 30 days. He said 15 days. And I
So
said,
when
okay.
this was like the day after she threw the drink on you?
Yes, sir. It's like my friend of almost 2 years just changed on me overnight. That's when I knew that it was something up with these relationships.
So that was June 3rd, about 6 weeks ago.
Yes, sir. June the 3rd.
And what's happened between these two people and you since then?
Since then, Miss Dexter on, I'm going off of memory, just random memory now. The next major thing was she assisted Steve Rainey while I was at work. No, on the 9th, I came in from work and I parked in the garage next to Steve Rainey's car, my assigned parking spot. She and Steve Rainey was sitting at the breakfast table with 3 guns displayed. And my heart just dropped in the middle of my stomach because I'm thinking, oh my God. And I couldn't even think to run or say nothing. I just kept walking past them and went upstairs to my room and locked the door. But they had a 9mm, an assault, like a assault rifle, I don't know what you call them, and then something like a sawed-off shotgun or a miniature machine gun. And I went in the room and just stayed. The next couple of days, on the 13th, I came in from work, and Mr. Chandler was sitting in his truck in the driveway and initially would not let me even pull in the driveway. And so I took my horn, and after about 2 minutes, he pulls up so that I can drive in and get into my garage, to get into the garage space. But to my surprise, my garage door opener wasn't opening because they had changed the locks and disconnected the power to the garage door opener. So Chandler then pulled his truck right in front of me and just stared at me, mocking me as I struggled to try to get in and figure out a way to get in the house. Then finally he drove off. I asked him, could you please just let me in? He drove off. Then Steve Rainey texted me and said, there's a key in the mailbox with everything you need on it. He and Yvonne Dexter had packed up all my things and moved them to a storage unit, and I sent that over as well as evidence or an exhibit. A storage unit in Morrow, close to my new job.
Right, hang on, because you said something about an exhibit. Let me see, Ms. Broom, are you able to screen share or whatever?
I see some exhibits, but they're not what she's saying.
Different ones.
Yeah.
And I guess one of the challenges here is we got like 4 cases that they might be under. So
it's going to be with the exhibit 1 is a voice recording of Yvonne Dexter rant on the first day because I didn't come downstairs with the key fast enough.
And see, I see a voice recording, but it's showing that it was too long.
Well, there was one that was sent in by the Women's Center when the case was filed and in the right format. Nobody said it wasn't legible or accessible. And then it was sent in again yesterday through the Women's Center in the right format. So you should.
So it was sent in yesterday? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. It would have came from Women's Resource Domestic Violence, Asher.
All right. So while we're checking on those things, let's carry on with the testimony. So you have the issue where you say they're basically trying to remove you from the property and direct you elsewhere. So were you able to go to the storage locker and find belongings? I
did go there and find belongings, but not all of my belongings. They just threw my stuff in garbage bags and threw it in this small storage space. And when I was rumbling through, even to just try to find my primary work clothes, corporate casual kind of thing, I noticed that, a lot of my clothing and shoes were not there. And anyway, I finally had a conversation over the next couple of days with Mr. Rainey, and he apologized, and then he was retracting, saying, I don't know what came over me, and I told them if anybody goes, it's going to be them and not you. And all right, so that was the 13th. The guns on the 9th, moving my stuff to storage unit on the 13th. And then it's been like, oh boy, it's been like at least 4 different physical assaults by Miss Dexter. I mean, she's held true to her promise on June the 2nd that I'm going to beat your old ass every day until you go. I mean, she'll
So what was the last incident that took place between you two?
Last night, the major one was this past Saturday morning. she was mad because she called the DeKalb police to try to have me served with this retaliation TPO that she served against me for filing one on her and having her removed from the house. So she called them, and they came, and they explained that, well, it's nothing they can do, and they just have to, sit there and make sure I don't run away until the sheriff comes. Well, the sheriff didn't come because I honestly believe they know that it's a bogus TPO.
That's not up to them. That has no control over how they act. I can tell you that right now.
Oh,
so, because if there's an order from the court, it's their job to enforce it. No ifs, ands, or buts. So whatever happened, happened. But I can promise you it wasn't for that.
They may have been. They may have been extremely busy, or I know that the law enforcement is short-staffed nationwide. So for whatever reason, they did not come. She got upset, and I was while the law enforcement was there, I was making my coffee as I normally do, and when they left, she came in and started brushing up against me at the stove, cooking my eggs. And I reminded her that, you can't just take people's groceries. And she started pushing and shoving then. And she took my my coffee that I had just fixed, threw the coffee on me, took my coffee mug, smashed it in the floor. And then as I went over to get my phone to call the police, she just started grabbing phones, bam, in the floor. Bam, busted up both of my phones, the one with what I would use to do all the voice recordings on, and then my primary phone for conversations and work and what have you. She destroyed both of them. And they are, pictures of those are in exhibit number 2 that were sent over yesterday as well.
All right, give us a moment to see if we can pull that up.
Along with that, and I know that, these things don't, other cases don't have anything to do with this case, but other cases tell about character.
Not doing that.
Okay.
It's that kind of character evidence. We're not gonna. I have to decide what happened between y'all, and I don't believe whatever other interpersonal issues exist between either of these people and anyone else. It's just not instructive in unpacking this, in my opinion. And so, all right. So, Madam Clerk, do we have the exhibit she's referencing this time?
Yeah, this one is a picture of a car. Exhibit 2, would that be a picture of a car, like the inside of a car?
No, ma'am. This is going to be exhibit 2. It was sent over on Monday, yesterday at 12:42 p.m. by Asher.
Asher. And what is it a picture of?
Wait a minute. Cell phone. 2 cell phones side by side on a brown tabletop, and then some pages of a legal document, which the judge just said I can't present that second piece.
Judge, I haven't came up with one with a cell phone.
All right. We'll keep moving. We'll circle back on exhibits if we need to, and we can check in with
my email. I can send her my email in the chat if she wants to send it to me directly.
So
I can do that.
All right. So let's do this for now. Ms. Pates, are there any other incidents that we have not discussed that involve Ms. Dexter or Mr. Chandler?
Oh, yes. With I'm trying to stay focused on one at a time. Mr. Chandler, again, he tried to flirt with me the week that he moved in, and I very graciously declined the offer. And it was like, I don't know, awkward with him in the house moving forward. But he initially became violent with me on the 23rd of June when the sheriff called me to coordinate the service of the TPO on Miss Dexter to have her removed from the house. I came into the garage and he was standing in the kitchen window that's open to the garage. He rushed to the door and just stood there with a crazy stare. Then he went back to the window. I was afraid to get out of the car because I'm thinking, dang, she left and the sheriff has left. So they'll tell him when they'll be back to serve her, and he can do whatever he wants to me. So I sat in my car for a minute, and at that time, he just stood in the window blowing kisses at me, mocking me. And then when I came in the house, he spoke very loudly in his beautiful accent. How was your day, Gail? How was your day? How's your new job, Gail? How's your new job? And I just kept walking and went on up to my bedroom and stayed the remainder of the evening. And Miss Dexter returned that night around 10:30 or 11. So I contacted the sheriff and let them know that she was there. They didn't come until the morning of the 24th, where she was officially served and escorted out. She was driving a car that she had just purchased without a license, and she was afraid to put her stuff in there. So she called Mr. Chandler, and he came to help her out. And he loaded her stuff into his Dodge Ram pickup truck and took her wherever she needed to go. However, he came back to the house around 1 o'clock, and he was in the kitchen downstairs just slamming the kitchen cabinets like he was having a meltdown, and cursing and saying all the things he was going to do to me. I'm an old bee. He was going to beat my old ass. She didn't deserve that, and this, that, the other, and the third. All right, I stayed in the room, but then it got so bad. I thought, he just might act on his threats. So, and he had done this. I'm having flashbacks. He had done this a couple of times before too. When she would jump on me, and I'd call the police, he would run up and try to force his way in my door and get me off the phone, calling the police. And each time the police would start to come, he'd leave. But on this particular day, the 24th, he stayed and ranted, and they came and they talked to him. And after they left, then he and Steve Rainey went into Miss Dexter's room after the sheriff had told us, don't go in there because she left her stuff a certain way. Dad should have the right to come back and find it the way she left it. And I understood that. They went in there fumbling around, rumbling like they were looking for something. And then they went into the garage, and I heard them fumbling around even more. But I just stayed in my room. So the next morning, when I did finally go down to the garage after listening to live streaming service, I was going to Walmart to get groceries and to the trails to walk and clear my head. That's when I noticed the puddle of water, and those are exhibit pictures. See if I can find those. I noticed a strange puddle of water at the rear of my car. And the first thought is, dang, they were out there in the garage on the 23rd after I called the police, and then they were out there in the garage on the morning of the 24th. Oh, the morning of the 24th, the 25th, that Sunday, before discovering the puddle of water. Mr. Chandler was having another meltdown. I had gone down to fix coffee, and he had a pot of old chicken grease sitting on the stove. And I was afraid that my elbow was gonna knock it over while I was fixing coffee in my little Keurig. So I just moved the grease from one eye to the other. When I came back up to the room, enjoying my coffee, he was in a cursing fit and slamming cabinet doors again. Stop effing with my shit. I'm gonna kill this bitch. Then he after ranting like that for several minutes, he got on the phone with Steve Rainey, telling him the same thing. I'm going to do this, that, and I'm going to kill this old V messing with my stuff. And so I thought, he was stomping around. He's coming up here again. And, so I called the police. And I was recording him. So I played the recording for the police. And they counseled him on, why did he make a false report, and explained to him that, hey, she was recording you and what she's saying ain't adding up. So that made
what falsity did he report?
He said that I had messed with his food and his groceries that he had on the stove, and they could see that it was just a pot of chicken grease where he had fried chicken or pork chops the day before and left it on the stovetop. And I admitted to them, sir, that I slid it from the one eye over because my elbow, the counter space was so small, I didn't want to mop up grease. And I admitted that to them. But he tried to make it sound like I just came down there and, I don't know, destroyed his whole meal or something.
While acknowledging the possibility that some of the things that he might be saying, if corroborated, and I know there are questions about recordings and whatnot, this is a meandering path to whatever we're supposed to be getting toward today. What is the significance of the water in the garage?
Okay. So after the police came and heard that, I went out to my car just to get out of the house because I hadn't been out in 2 days. And that's when I noticed the water a puddle of water at the back of my car. And I thought, oh my God, I hope they didn't put water in my gas tank. So I made it 2 miles from the house to Anvil Block Road into Walmart. When I came out of Walmart, my car, which was running like a brand new sewing machine, was fidgety to start. And then when it did start, was sputtering a little bit. So I thought, they probably did put water in it. And I went a half mile up to Kroger to try to top it off with some premium gas, thinking maybe that'll at least let me go 4 or 5 miles and find an emergency mechanic. And I didn't make it that far. The car shut off within another mile. And I had it towed. I flagged down the tow truck. It was the grace of God. He was like right there where I pulled off at the side of the road, and I flagged him down. He towed me back to the house for an $80 discount and put the car right back in the garage where it always was. And then I called my mechanic from Mableton, Georgia, to come and check it and repair it, because I was just thinking, okay, it's just water. And when the mechanic came, he pumped out the fuel and the fuel tank, and those photos are sent in there in exhibits to each of the cases for both Chandler and Rainey. He shined his light up in there to show me these big clumps of sugar and another white substance in the bottom of the fuel tank. And he sponged all of that out and replaced the fuel pump. And then he verified that it was sugar. In the photographs, you can see the crystallized sugar all inside the actual fuel pump.
And then that, Judge, would you like for me to show that?
Yes, if we have that one.
Okay.
And then when he added the new fuel in, after installing a brand new fuel pump and dry cleaning the actual fuel tank, he did warn that there still could be sugar in the lines because you drove a couple of miles, so don't be surprised if I have to come back and do the fuel injectors.
So how do you know that he was the one that was responsible for this?
Because that Friday evening when I came into the kitchen, I had my, after he was upset with me because Yvonne Dexter was about to be removed. The sheriff had just came and left, and she had left. He had a brand new tube of caulking right beside him, and that's the other piece of the car story. And that video is no longer available because that video was on the phone that Miss Dexter destroyed this past Saturday with a whole lot of other videos and voice recordings. However, he had that caulking. He had a brand new tube of caulking just sitting beside him when he was mocking me. And then the time that I witnessed him and Rainey in the garage, both on the 24th and the morning of the 25th, both times right after I had to call law enforcement to get him to stop, Chandler to stop ranting about all the harm he was going to do to me, kill me, make me come up missing, and all this, that, and the other. And in addition to the sugar in the tank, and it like it had to be 5 pounds or more. It was so much. And when the mechanic put like 4 gallons of premium back in there and we started it up, we immediately smelled, well, it took them forever to get it in because they took that caulking, the little tubes like what you use to do fine caulking around a shower or tub. They took
all right,
that
all of this can be boiled down to your car was damaged. We have been going for so long and we haven't even gotten to the part where the first person asks you their first question, much less the part where they get to give their own testimony about these stories. So the painstaking detail with which you are spelling these things out is not really helpful in this setting in terms of determining what the rulings that I'm tasked with making. If we were in a civil suit where we were trying to figure out the exact dollar amount of the damages, some of these things would bear a little differently. So right now, I'm going to shift us in a different direction. What we're going to do, Mr. Chandler, your case is first on the calendar. And what we've been talking about most recently has pertained to you, understanding you're going to have a chance to give your own testimony. You've had a chance to see those pictures that were shared. Do you have any questions you wish to ask Ms. Pates, or any objections to the admissibility of those pictures for whatever weight the court gives them when we're done? I think you'll have to click to unmute.
Yes, sir.
All right. So do you have any questions for this witness? Any objections to the admission of those pictures into evidence?
Yes, sir.
All right. What questions would you like to ask Ms. Pates?
Did Miss Stitt ever saw me on her car?
No, she said
I
she saw
saw-
you with the other items.
No, the car came is for, I regrout the bathroom. My bathroom downstairs, I regrout my bathroom. So I caught around the tub. That's what the caulking was for.
Okay, that's a statement,
And-
not a question. Do you have a question for this witness?
Did she see me around her car? I don't know nothing about her car.
All right. Have you seen him near the car?
Yes, sir. Both times when I heard the noise in the garage, because nobody would ever spend any time in the garage. I came downstairs and the kitchen window overlooks the garage, looks right out into it. That's when I saw both he and Steve Rainey in the garage. But they were just standing between the cars, my Mercedes and Rainey's Jaguar, like they were having a conversation when they saw me in the window.
Okay, so she's given that example of an instance where you were near
Okay.
the vehicle. Do you have
Okay.
other questions?
Okay, you heard what she just said, my honor. She saw me and Rainey in the facility of her car. So she did not see me, nor she did not see Mr. Rainey tampering with her car, because it never happened.
That's argument, not a question. Do you have other questions for this witness?
No.
Okay. It is a fine tightrope to walk between hoping that things are going the place you need them to go, and sometimes you have to just take the wheel and get them there. And we have crossed over into the latter situation because I have a number of other hearings that we are going to conduct this afternoon, and there are going to be a whole lot of people ordering DoorDash for dinner, is where we're at right now. So, all right, Miss Dexter, this is the time for questions and only questions. The time for testimony. I'm echoing. Do you have questions for Miss Pates?
I just want to ask one question. If I did anything physically to her, why was I not arrested? She said that I physically hit her in the head. She said she called the police.
Let me ask. Okay. So did you have any visible injuries from those incidents, Ms. Pates?
No, sir, and that's that. Except for this Saturday. This Saturday was the first time that I had a visible incident where she punched me, and she's done that several times. Just punched me and snatched my wig off. She's made a hobby out of just running into my room and snatch my wig off. It's funny to her, and punch me in the face.
The police did not observe any injuries, didn't make an arrest.
They did.
The question. Is that the correct answer to the question, Ms. Pates?
That is correct. They took pictures, but they did not make an arrest. Then they took me to the T-Mobile store to get a backup phone because she had smashed both of my phones just prior to punching me.
And did they give you any information regarding the next steps you were supposed to take?
Yes, sir. They advised me to go and pursue a warrant, which I had applied for a criminal warrant shortly after June the 2nd with the first physical assault. I applied online through the DeKalb County courts, and I was told that since I didn't have they called me at work and said, "Do you have her social security number?" I'm like, who that's being accused of a crime is going to give you their social security number to have them prosecuted?
Yeah, that civilian warrant process is complicated to navigate. That's not surprising to me as someone who handles some of those issues. That you ran into that roadblock. It's a process that doesn't exist in most other states. But all right.
And then, sir, on Mr. Chandler, I've been working with the DeKalb County Sheriff's Unit on domestic violence to pursue a warrant for the physical assault of him trying to force his way into my room, amongst other things. And they've just been, I don't know. The first investigator was on vacation, and someone called me and assured me.
Do you have any other questions for Ms. Pates?
I do not, sir.
All right, very good. So, Mr. Chandler, excuse me, you were on first as our first listed respondent. We'll give you the opportunity to testify if you wish to testify. You've already been sworn in and are under oath. Would you like to testify in this matter?
Yes, sir.
What would you like to tell us?
She's crazy.
Come on. When I moved into that place, into that house, me and Miss Gail, we used to get along. Miss Gail started saying that I bringing women in and out of the house. I don't have no little kids that I have to take care of. I work, I come home, I bed, by 8 o'clock I gone. I hardly sleep there. I come back about 6 o'clock, get ready for work and come to work. I tried to ask Gail what was the problem with me and her. I said, Gail, let's talk about this. What's the problem? I never did you anything. Oh, I don't want to talk to fat boys. No, fat boy. That was it. I leave it as that. She called the police, tell the police I threatened her. I never had no conflict with the woman. So I was trying to figure out what's going on between me and her. She never tell me what's going on between me and her. I witnessed I was sleeping one night, and I heard a commotion upstairs. I got up and I went up there. Yes, I did went up there. I don't know what was going on up there. I said, Ava, open this door, open this door. Ava opened the door. I saw Gail took up an iron that you iron clothes, and throw it at Eva, and it barely missed her head. I called the police. Then she said one day, how she can burn the house down. We got to sleep with one eye open. And I didn't know where all of that was coming from because me and that woman never had no conflict. And she caught me totally off guard. I don't know what happened. And with her car, I don't know nothing about her car. I really don't. That's all I have to say.
Okay, and you describe an incident where she made another threat to you or she had a weapon. Was that around the same time?
Yes, she had it was like, it was like a butter knife. I think it was a butter knife. And she said that she was going to stab me with it. And so I looked at her and I said, you better get away from me, woman. You better get away from me. That's what I told her. And then I called my girlfriend and I said, yo, this bitch over here is acting crazy. And my girlfriend said to me, just put on your clothes and come on over here. And that's what I did.
All right. Ms. Pates, do you have any questions that you think need to be asked to Mr. Chandler right now? You'll have to click to unmute for me.
Yes. Mr. Chandler, what were you doing in the garage for about an hour on the morning of the 24th after Miss Dexter was removed from the house, and again on Sunday morning after the police left with Mr. Rainey?
I was not in that garage when the police removed Miss Dexter. Miss Dexter called me to get her from there, and the sheriff department was still there, and the sheriff department said to me, thank you very much, sir. And I put her inside my car, inside my truck, and we left.
So I think Sunday, what were you doing for that time in the garage?
The Sunday, when me and Mr. Rainey was in the garage, the computer on Mr. Rainey's car is not good. His car won't start.
So is the answer to this question, you were doing something for Mr. Rainey's car?
No, me and Mr. Rainey was inside the garage looking at his car. So he was using some of my tools because his car have a...
Yes.
Yes, it was me and Mr. Rainey in the
Mr. Rainey's car. Her question is, what were you doing in the garage? And your answer is, working on Mr. Rainey's car. What's your next question, Ms. Pates?
My next question is, on one occasion, Mr. Chandler, you were, I don't know, just transparent for no reason and shared with me that you were illiterate, lacking the ability to read and write well, and you were really grateful for your government job. And then I look at your the TPO that you filed, and it's a mirror of the original TPO that Miss Dexter tried to file on the 27th after she was removed from the home. It's in handwriting. Is that your writing, sir?
Listen to me. My words to you was, I'm the only illiterate man that have a government job. That is what I said.
Answer the question. This is so ridiculous. Whose handwriting is on the paper?
I don't know.
How did it get done?
I did that paperwork. I did that PTO. I did that.
So this is your handwriting that
yes.
I'm looking at on your petition.
On my PTO is my handwriting. I don't know nothing about Miss Dexter's PTO or nothing.
All right. Madam Clerk, can you pull that up and screen share it for me, the petition for 5964?
One moment.
Let me know if you need some assistance, Ms. Plum.
What page would you like, Judge? Thank you, Ms. George.
First one will be fine.
Okay.
Now, Mr. Pates, I mean no disrespect with this question, but I do want to make sure I understand what's going on. Sometimes people make comments that they don't mean or as a joke. Other times, you know, they say things. So this is the petition we have. So before we get into what she's asking, I guess the question is this your handwriting?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So you filled this petition out and then you did what with it?
I think I email it back to the down to the website that they told me to. Yes, that's mine. Yes.
So did you send it to the? So you wrote it by hand, scanned it, and emailed it?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay,
I wrote it. I wrote it out by hand, and then I give it to my girlfriend. She took it to her job and she scanned it and sent it back.
So that you would have the electronic copy to email
Yes.
him.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And so, all right, Ms. Pates, what's your next question?
Your Honor, is it possible to get just a quick sample writing from
No.
Mr.
What's next?
Okay. I'd like to point out that Mr. Chandler, this TPO initial filing, which is stamped across the top of most of the pages, but definitely pages 8, 13, and 14, is, as I stated earlier, filed on 6/27/2023 at 10 a.m. And then your actual TPO wasn't filed until the 5th of July, after you had been removed from the home. So my direct question is, why is there a lapse of almost 30 days from the filing?
Sorry, what almost 30 days are you referencing here?
Well, the TPO has a date stamp across the top of it. If you see page 8, it's got 2 numbers on it, page 8 and 12 on page 8, page 13 and 14, or page 8, 1 and 1.
Are you looking at an order or a petition?
I'm looking at the petition, sir. The filing.
Okay, and it's the same handwritten one that was just screen shared?
Yes, sir. And it was initially filed on 6/27/23, which was the red flag that made me believe that it was the petition that was initially filed by Ms. Dexter and wasn't processed. And then the actual date that Mr. Chandler filed isn't until July the 5th. After he was, his file date is the 5th of July for this.
Where are you basing that on?
It's printed on the copy of the documents that I have. 23 PO 05964.
I'm just going to tell you, I think that's the date that they were literally printed. It's not the date that anything was done. That's the date it was printed off the computer to bring to you.
Yes, it did.
Because
Okay.
you were served.
I was served on the 5th. Yes, sir.
So that would match up. If the sheriff, if they printed those documents on the 5th, they could have brought them to you on the 5th. That's why they're dated the 5th. What's your next question?
Okay. That's really all I have for Mr. Chandler.
All right. Ms. Dexter, do you have any questions for Mr. Chandler?
I just want to ask him, did I previously know you before June 1st? I've never met him ever in my life. So,
No, ma'am.
well, I'm asking him. I'm sorry.
No, ma'am. I didn't know you. No, ma'am.
Thank you. That's all I have, Judge.
My honor, when I met her, that is when I found out that she works for the county too. Since then, I never know her before then.
Okay. All right. So, Mr. Chandler, I think that's all the questions we have for you. Ms. Dexter, this is your opportunity to provide your testimony. You've been sworn in and are under oath. What would you like to tell us today?
Well, my testimony is I feel that this lady, Miss Page, is mentally disturbed. She is delusional. She just do all types of stuff in the house. Like Steve told you, she threw an iron at my head one time when I wasn't looking. We did get into a confrontation because she's mad that I shared the bathroom with her, but it's not her house. You know, she got an eviction. She's mad that she got an eviction, and the guy wants her to get out the house because she's not paying rent and she's squatting. And he brought other people in to pay the rent, and she's not paying the rent. So she's mad that, you know, I guess her and Mr. Rainey had some type of relationship. I don't know, but he's a 60-year-old man. I've never had any type of sexual dealings with him. No type of, it is nothing like that. I did find an ad on Craigslist. I responded to the ad. I moved in on June 1st. She's correct. She was supposed to leave a key under the mat because she had to go to work. She did not leave the key. So I called Mr. Rainey. Mr. Chandler came out of work and came to let me inside of the residence. When she got home, she told me that she's gonna give me the key. I told her that's fine. Mr. Chandler gave me a key. I'm gonna go and make my own key. So at that point in time, she was upset. She got mad and said, somebody trying to, whatever. That made us estranged that day. That made us not, I guess she got an attitude about that. I don't know why she got this big thing that something's going on between. Nothing ever has been going on. But okay, so move forward. She's just been doing erratic things in the house. She'll turn on all of the lights and leave the lights on all day. She'll turn on all of the water. So Mr. Rainey just wanted her out of the house, you know. So like I said, I don't be here like that. I just go and mind my business. I'm just a regular tenant. But as far as her and her erratic behavior, I fear for my life because she does stuff at night where it's scary. You know, she told everybody she was gonna burn the house down, like Mr. Chandler said, and to sleep with one eye open. She put the glue all over the locks, so we only have one door to enter. We can't get in and out of the house. It's only one door, and that's the door to the garage. And the only reason she didn't glue that door is because she has the only garage key, and Mr. Rainey, which is the homeowner, has the garage key. So he then gave me the garage key so I can get in and out of the home. She did put a PTO on me, but they dismissed it because it was. First, I left when they served me. They told me I had to leave the home. I left. The PTO was up July 9th, but I didn't come back. I didn't come back until we went to court. When we went to court, they dismissed the charges, and then that's when I returned back to the home. But
and that was a procedural dismissal. You didn't have an evidentiary hearing with testimony, correct?
Correct. And I've never even talked to the judge before they even issued the PTO. That's why I'm like, I don't know why.
That's how that process works. That's how it works for everybody. It's the same reason that you talk to a judge to get yourself here without them there. So, all right.
Right.
So what else did you wish to tell us?
I just wish to tell you that I fear for my life. She does crazy things at nighttime. and I'll be scared to sleep sometime. But this is where I live, and I pay rent here. I pay 3 months rent. She doesn't pay any rent. She doesn't live here. She put a PTO on Mr. Rainey, which is the person that actually owns the property. She put a PTO on him because he gave her eviction papers. At first, he just told her, go ahead and leave. He didn't really, he told her to get some time for her to just go ahead and leave, but she wouldn't leave. So now he actually filed for eviction to get her out of here. And now that she's leaving, she just do stuff. She just do crazy things. She wait till people go to sleep, and she does crazy things. And like I said, I paid to live here, and then I had to pay for a hotel for 2 to 3 weeks because of this incident. And I think she needs to be mentally evaluated. Everything she said was lies. I never touched this lady. I think she broke her own phones. I've never put my hands on this 60-year-old lady. I've never put my hands on her. I never punched her in the face. I never told her I'm gonna beat her. We got into a verbal argument, of course, but I've never put my hands on her. So I just, like I said, I think that the TPO is valid because she's the actual aggressor. She talks very nice and sweet, but she's really a demon. She really does stuff that is outrageous, and I just want the court to recognize that. I don't know what evidence she has, but it's false evidence. I've never put my hands on her. She the one actually hurt me. She threw an iron at my head. She gets crazy and erratic, and she just go crazy. I don't know what's wrong with her, but I've never put my hands on her. And that's my testimony. I'm ready to go. Sorry.
All right, Ms. Pates, do you have any questions for this witness?
Yes, because I missed this one on Chandler, and I should have asked him as well. But Ms. Dexter, when you make the accusation that I said I was going to burn down the house with everyone in it, I noticed that that's only on Mr. Chandler's application for a TPO. Do you have any proof or any police report that I made such threats?
No, I didn't.
Specifically that I was going to burn down the house while everyone was keeping it.
Police reports are not evidence for these purposes. The evidence is testimony.
I've never called the police. We just heard you say it out of your mouth. No, I don't have any evidence.
Okay,
that's enough of an answer, Ms. Dexter. Ms. Pates, do you have any other questions?
I do. On your TPO, Ms. Dexter, that you filed, what dates did the allegations actually take place? Because I'm noticing that again, that your TPO was not filed until 3 or 4 days after you had been removed under the TPO I filed on you.
For 1 month. It's been June. It was in June.
All right, we're gonna reframe this question. Did you file your TPO after the sheriff removed you from the house?
I did.
Okay, I don't know how many questions it was going to take to get to that, but I think that's where that's going. Ms. Pates, what is your next question?
Just the allegations on that TPO. I mean, typically, if something happened to me, I'd say it happened on June the 2nd, June the 9th, and June the 13th. Are there any specific dates? Why aren't there dates on the allegations?
Okay.
You're right. I'm in the weeds. I'm sorry, sir. I'm in the weeds.
What's your next question?
Here's a key one. You stated several times, Ms. Dexter, that Mr. Stephen Rainey owns the property here at 3927. how do you know that he owns it? Because I know differently.
Irrelevant. Next question.
That's all I have, sir.
Okay. Mr. Chandler, do you have any questions for Ms. Dexter?
No, sir.
All right. I don't want to be rash and make any decisions while I sit here. I have a lot to think over and look over. The three of you will be placed in the waiting room and be brought back in when and if I have an announcement about how we'll be proceeding from here.
Sir, can I ask one more question? Did Miss Pate stow an iron at the back of my head? I want to ask her that.
She's not on the witness stand for that, so no, ma'am. All parties will be placed in the waiting room.
I put that in my PTO. I did put that in there. That she threw an iron. That's why I'm afraid of for my life. I put that in the TPO that she threw an iron at me.
And you offered testimony to that effect, and she took the stand when she testified and was subject to questioning. The parties are going to be placed in the waiting room.
Just give me 5 minutes. I want to go to the restroom.
We will give you at least 5 minutes. I can promise you that. So take all the time you need. I know we have been going for 2 hours here. So absolutely. It'll be at least 5 and maybe more than that. Here's the deal. This is going to be half a ruling and half a speech so that I can just sit here and preach at everybody. Here's what I think is going to happen. There's an eviction case coming to court next week. There are more TPOs coming to court the week after that. This is just getting started. Ms. Pates, there are ways that it appears that you're being ganged up on. There are ways that it appears that you're the problem. Certainly to the other 3 people in the house, they seem to believe that you're the problem. That's why the only person with an eviction pending, to my knowledge, is you. But there's a process that you're entitled to with the court system. I'm not sitting here saying you're the problem. At the same time, what you're asking me to do, mostly today, but also on that other court date in the future, is to potentially have everybody else put out of this house but you. And it's an unusual situation, to say the least. The orders that I write on this case are the type of orders that I seldom write. But I think it's the best solution that I have, and I think it's an appropriate one under the facts and the law as I believe them to be. I'm not going to remove anybody from the home. I'm not going to evict anyone from the residence. And part of the reason for that is that there's an eviction pending against one of these parties that could be resolved within the next, heard in court in the next 7 days and then fully resolved, so to speak, in the next 14. My rulings on these cases are going to be as follows. Position 18 on the calendar, 23 PO 5817, Pates versus Chandler. I will grant the order and tell Mr. Chandler to have no contact with Ms. Pates. That includes verbally or otherwise. That includes communications directed at her or even about her, but in her presence in such a way that they can be overheard. With respect to position 23, Chandler versus Pates, I will deny that order as well as order 23 PO 6041 because I don't believe that those orders are reasonably necessary to prevent future acts of violence. With respect to 23 PO 6448, Pates versus Dexter, I will grant that order. I will not remove Miss Dexter or anyone else from the home. I will not require family violence intervention because this is not that type of relationship. But I'll give you the same instructions I gave Mr. Chandler. Do not have any contact with Miss Pates, verbally, physically, or otherwise. That includes other forms of communication like electronic communication as well. Miss Pates, to whatever extent Mr. Rainey is in charge of this property, whether he's the owner, the landlord, or just the person doing someone else's bidding, he doesn't seem to want you there. The other roommates don't seem to want you there. There was a conversation about this at least as far back as June 3rd, but there's a legal process that accompanies having you removed. That process is ongoing. At the same time, what I will gently tell you is this is a hint that you need to take. because whether you have a legal right to be there and whether it's in your best interest to be there are often two very different things. And this feels like one of those times. So while you might not be treated kindly or you might not be treated fairly in that house, it sounds like, and it seems like you feel like you would be safer and you would be happier somewhere else. And so I would work very hard to find that somewhere else as soon as possible. And I don't think anybody else would begrudge you that. And that fresh start, my hope is, will serve you well and will put a stop to all the issues between all of you. In the meantime, whichever of my colleagues are dealt the hand that requires addressing next week's case and the week after that's case, I wish them luck. These orders will be on record sometime this week for anyone that should need them.
Thank you.